Well, good afternoon. I was about to say good morning, but good afternoon, everyone. How are we? Are we enjoying the conference? Yes? We all just had some food? Yeah, good. Got some energy for this. Yes, I'm here to talk to you about how to verify your $1 million idea. So if you think about a lot of entrepreneurs, they come up with an idea, the energy's really high, the creative juices are flowing, and they're just ready to get into some action. But really, sometimes it really pays to just stop and pause and just think about what you're trying to do and objectively look at the concept before you just put too much time, money and energy into it. So that's what I'm just going to talk about today. Festina lente. Has anyone heard this term before? It's not a new car coming out from Kia Motors or an Italian dish. It's actually a Latin phrase for make haste slowly. So another way of saying it is like go slow to go fast. And it's really about just putting in enough effort that can measure it with what you're trying to achieve. So if you're looking to change your life and do a startup, for example, you really might want to put a little bit of time into developing the idea before you make a decision. I think just investing the right amount of time to really set yourself up for success, get a little bit of data. It's not all about all planning and no action, it's really about getting that balance right. And I'm going to talk to you about spending 10 days to go through this process. And I think if you're not spending 10 days, you probably aren't being that diligent. And the work that we're going to do will be really useful for your planning in the future, marketing, selling and investor pitching. So no more Latin, don't worry. So how can you verify a concept in just 10 days? So 3 steps we'll do it in. The first is really defining the concept and the context. So that's all the key assumptions and the supporting data around the target customers, the competitors, get some model inputs. Then step 2 is really exploring the target market. So doing a little bit of market research, and I'll take you through a really easy and cheap and quick way to do that. Competitive landscape and the market conditions. And the third is really making that decision. So that's deciding the go or no go on the data that you've got and really what do you have to believe to go ahead. Just so you can see it really can happen in 10 days, I've got a little plan, a little Gantt chart for those people that like to see things mapped out in a little plan. And so I'm not saying you have to spend 10 full days' time on this, but really if you spend a little bit of time on this each day, do each step, you will get there within 10 days. Some of you will find every step really easy, some might find some easy and some a little bit harder. If you really know a lot about a topic and you've done it before, it'll be really easy, but there might be some areas that are a little bit uncomfortable because you haven't done them before. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur and have your own business, you probably need to get used to being uncomfortable because that's a big part of running your own business. So step 1, what are we doing? Let's really define what we actually are about to do. And we do that using a business canvas. So there's nothing like putting a bit of pen to paper to really clarify your thinking about the idea and what you're going to do. And don't worry if you can't read all the text. I know there's a lot on here, but it is really important to get it on one page. And that's something that you can have with you through the whole startup of your business. So firstly, what is the problem hypothesis? Or what problem do you think that your product or service is going to solve? What's the unmet need that a customer might have? Then you want to think through, well, what's the proposed solution that you have? How could I solve that problem with my product or service or a combination? Next is thinking about the customer. Who could my potential customer be? Is it a consumer? Is it a business? Is it a government? Who might actually use this product and get value from it? Then look at some competitors. So who are the other people that might be operating in this space, that might be offering like the same kind of solution or something a bit different, but also meeting the same need? And then what's my unfair advantage? Like what's special about me and my product solution or my service solution? And what am I proposing? Can I do it faster, cheaper, just be cooler, like better? Like what is it about my solution? And then thinking about your sales channel. So how might I sell this product? Do I need to get face-to-face salespeople that will go out and take this to market? Do I need to set up an e-commerce store? Do I need to have a bricks and mortar store? What sort of marketing activities might I need to do to promote this product? Is it something that is going to need a lot of explanation and I need to come to trade shows so I can really demonstrate the product? Is it something that I need to do Facebook campaigns or get influencers involved? And I think very importantly, the next one, revenue. Like, where is the revenue going to come from for this product? And then what are the costs? Particularly what are the fixed costs and what are the variable costs? So again, if you're opening up a store, that's a pretty fixed cost. If you've got a lot of equipment, that's a fixed cost. And what are the variable ones might be the marketing costs. You want to think about what the key roles are within the business. So for this concept to be successful, there's probably at least 2 or 3 roles that are really important. It might be someone that runs the business, it might be a CTO if it's a technical business, you really need a technical lead, it might be a marketer. And then who are some partners that I might need to bring this to market? Someone that I could partner with and together we do something better. Okay, now we want to talk a lot more about customers. So who are we targeting with this product? And I'm going to take you through a bit of a survey process to get some data, but also about identifying your high expectation customer, or an HXC. So we've always talked about customers. This is a bit of a new concept that you can definitely do plenty of reading about. And it's really about identifying those high expectation customers. It's actually quite hard to say, I must say. HXC is a lot easier. So a high expectation customer is someone who is your most discerning person within your target market. It's someone who will acknowledge and really value and enjoy your product or service and get its greatest benefit from it. So it's sort of your top customer. And if you please that high expectation customer, you'll please all of your customers. And what you really want to know is who is that customer? And what do they want from you and what will they value from you the most? Why does your product or service matter to them? And how do they feel about your product or service? And I'm going to take you through, this is just a bit of an example of a Google survey, don't worry if you can't read it. It's just showing that, you can very quickly go out and ask some questions to find out more about them. Some examples of some high expectation customers. So Airbnb, who's ever used Airbnb? It's not something that we're not unfamiliar with. So their high expectation customers really invested in being a good global citizen. They love going to new and interesting places and really feeling like being a local in the area and in the know. So if they go to Paris, they really want to stay in the right area and they want a great host that'll make them feel at home, like they belong. And they're really energised by the idea of it being unique. And they're usually quite price conscious as well. So that's that high expectation customer. That's not to say that some customers don't just want to book a cheap flat in Paris, and they don't want all that extra stuff. But the high expectation customer is probably what drives the product development at Airbnb. And if you think about Dropbox, so they have a high expectation customer that really wants simplicity in their life. So they're really organised, they're very tech savvy, they're looking for ways to get time back in their day. They want to know that Dropbox has got them covered, that someone's got their back when it comes to all of their life's work, because they're storing everything there. They're storing all of their work, their photos, their family information, and so it's really important that everything's safe and secure and that the experience is really simple. And again, that doesn't mean that a lot of us aren't just storing some things there. I put my tax documents on Dropbox, but that's about it. And my husband puts photos there, but some people are doing everything. So that's who they're designing for. Now, to find out more about who your target customer is and what their needs are, you can do a survey. So did anyone here know that Google do cheap surveys? No? Yes, a couple of hands up. It's something I only sort of really heard about last year, that you can do a really quick, easy survey with Google. You can screen to get a target audience and you can conduct a live survey. The results come back within a matter of days, so it fits within our 10-day window. The audience, look, it's not perfect. It's fairly broad, but it's much better than relying on guesswork, and it's a lot easier than going out and trying to survey people yourself. I think you could get 100 respondents to answer this many questions and get a really good view about what people need about the product, a bit of segmentation, for under $1,000 easily. So I think that's a really pretty small investment to really set you up for success and to really understand your concept. A question you might want to ask if you're really struggling to find out who is this high expectation customer is, in the survey, have an open-ended question saying, how would you define the person that would benefit the most from this product? And so you're actually getting that feedback back from consumers or potential customers. And they're probably going to start describing themselves. So it'll really give a good insight in who these customers might be. Are we rowing downstream? So we've been talking very much about the concept and the customers, and you can, as an entrepreneur, it's really easy to get quite silo and quite sort of blinkered in your vision. So it's really important to do something that really assesses the outside and what's happening in the market conditions or the context. So this is one tool called the pestle. There's the PEST, which is the same as a pestle, but minus environmental and legal. And there's SWOTs, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. I like the pestle because it gives you quite a broad range of things to consider. So there's, political influence, economic influence, social, technological, environmental and legal. And don't try and read all these questions. I'm just showing you that if you go and Google a pestle, you will get examples of the kinds of questions or checklists that you could ask yourself. And it's really kind of a safety check for you for things that you haven't thought of. So for example, you're going through there and you're like, oh yeah, government regulation, is that important to my product? Is that something, if there's going to be a new change in government regulation, do I need to know about that? Could that affect my business? Maybe the government's going to change the immigration policy and that might open up a new target segment for you. Is exchange rates important to you? Are trade wars something that you need to be thinking about? Technology like 5G is being advertised everywhere at the moment, so is that something that could really change the ability for you to get your product out to market or make it cheaper? So I just think this is your opportunity to really just step back from your internal product and service that you want to take to market and really think broader about the market. So who else is out there? Chances are there's someone else that's operating in a similar area to you. So this is a chance to do your competitive landscape research and a competitive profile matrix. So when I think about competitors, just remember having competition is not bad. It's actually really good. Because if no one is competing at all in your space, chances are that that market is too small. And so you're really entering something that's either too niche or too small for you to actually make money out of. And it's really important to know where you fit in all of the solutions that are out there to the problem. And I've got a bit of an example that I've worked through on the next slide, but essentially I try to find out what's their unique selling proposition or USP, what's their pricing, how do they compete, when were they founded, where are they based, how many staff do they have, what's their revenue, their funding, what stage are they at and their investors. And most of this you can find through desktop research. It's really, and if you can't find it, then you can't find it and you can just make assumptions. But this is one I've worked through for a diet product. And so I've got 4 companies here. So the first one is MyFitnessPal. Now, MyFitnessPal, their unique selling proposition is that everything starts with what you eat and that you can take control of your goals and really track everything you eat. So it's all about this tracking. Track the ingredients, know what you're eating, and log your activities. And it's $9.99 a month. They've been around since 2005, so they've been around for quite a while. They've only got 50 to 100 staff and about $8 million revenue. Noom, which I don't know if anyone here uses Facebook, but that just feels like it's everywhere at the moment. And their unique proposition is that it's sustainable weight loss, and it's just 10 minutes. It's so easy. 10 minutes a day, and it'll just, all be really easy. So that's kind of what they're doing. And it costs about the same as sort of a pair of shoes. So a lot of their advertising is they're really sort of comparing it to those costs. Similar solution. Look, they've been around about the same as MyFitnessPal, but they're worth $50 million. So that's interesting that they've got a bit more growth. Weight Watchers, which has been around since the 60s, and they've really expanded their unique selling proposition to be about general wellness, so wellness that works. So they've expanded it not just about diet, but it's about health and spiritual health and, much more holistic kind of coverage. And their product they have is about $45 a month, so kind of similar to Noom. And their revenue last year was $1.5 billion. It's already a suggestion there's a fair amount of money in this industry. And then lastly, I've got here Blue Apron. So they are not a diet tracker, but they're a grocery delivery service that delivers recipes and ingredients that'll really help you stay on track with healthy eating. So that's really showing that people will spend a fair bit of money per month and they need help with that sort of area. And they're already worth $500 million, and they've been around since 2012. So, you can see there's real growth in this sector. And then competitive positioning. So this is trying to figure out where do you fit in the market with the other competitors. So these little bubbles. So each bubble is how much revenue that competitor has. So the bigger the bubble, the bigger the revenue. And the bottom axis is sort of what stage of life they're in. Are they at seed? Are they venture? Are they high growth? And then the top to bottom is, are they a direct competitor? So do they do pretty much what you do, or are they indirect, so similar or adjacent? And why it's important to map yourself in this way is you've really got to stare into this and see where you fit. So you're the blue star. You're obviously in direct because you're exactly the same in your early stage, and you want to see what's around you. So if you look in the top right corner, it's a little confusing when you're here, if you had a lot of big competitors in high growth directly competing with you, you would really want to stare into that and think about, how am I going to take on these big competitors if they are directly competing with me? How would I contend with them? Alternatively, if you're on your own and there's absolutely no one around you competing directly, you need to really think about that too, because that either means that you have a revolutionary option that no one's ever thought of before and is going to change the market, or that you just could be wrong. So I think you really need to, it's really important to sort of map everyone and see where they fit. The last thing to do for competitors is to really do this profile matrix. And again, something you can just Google and look up competitive profile matrix. And it's really thinking about what are the critical success factors for a business in your industry, and you list them down and then you weight them. So what's most important, least important? And again, they're just your assumptions, and it's fine, because that's how you're starting off, and over time you'll learn more and you might be able to adjust those. And then you track, where do you think your business sits in terms of these critical success factors, and then where do you think the competitors sit? So you can really give them all a score. Now what this is going to show you is where their strengths might be, but also where their vulnerabilities might be. So for example, if you look across and you see, wow, nobody's really strong in marketing. Like, that's an area where nobody's really strong. Maybe that's something that I can decide to do for my business. I'm going to put a lot of energy into that. You also might see that you are the strongest in product. So you think, well, okay, I've got the best product, so that's something that's really important for me to really double down on and invest on, because if you've got a strength, you really want to make sure that you're holding that. And so I think this is just a real opportunity to look for those little chinks in the armour of the competitor, but also to really acknowledge where you're good and where you're not so good. And you cannot be good at everything. It's impossible. So don't see this as, oh my gosh, I've got to be, if I'm not 4 at everything, then I'm no good. It's really not about that. It's just seeing where's the things where you're going to shine. Now this section's all about what do we need to believe this is going to be a great business. So it's financial modelling. So if you're not comfortable with doing financial modelling, I'd suggest you get comfortable, or you really find some people that are going to help you, maybe an accountant, or you've got someone that's a friend that's really great at this stuff, because it is really important that you get at least a general level of being able to do this. The first one is what I call the back of the envelope sanity check, and it's really just getting down your key assumptions about how your business might operate and the key numbers. So once they're in the model, you can quickly assess, what do I need to believe to proceed? So for example, this example here says, look, the pricing is going to be $1,200 a year, so $99 a month. By year 3, based on my assumptions, I'm going to have 8,000 customers, but I'd need to generate leads at a certain rate and they have to convert at 10%. So you need to sit down and say, do I genuinely believe that I can get 8,000 customers over 3 years? One, are there 8,000 customers out there in this market that I'm looking at? If you're going after large wholesale manufacturers in a small, in Victoria, there might not be enough people to actually hit that number. So it's a bit of a sanity check. Can I reach that target audience? Like with the amount of money I've got, can I actually get out to that many people? And do I genuinely believe that I can convert leads at 10%? So I think this is a really good one to just put down those key assumptions, and you'll start to quickly see when things add up, oh boy, that either doesn't make sense or, oh yeah, that actually does make sense. The 3-year hypotheticals. So producing this, a full set of financials, can seem like a bit of a waste of time, but it does 2 things. One, it demonstrates to investors that you know how to do it and have considered all the factors, and it helps you map out a logical growth path that can be used for budgeting and fundraising. So again, if this is not something you feel super comfortable with, you should work with an accountant or another advisor to really help you through this. Speaking of advisors, you really need to go talk to some trusted advisors and get their take on your concept. And to do that, I'd suggest one technique. Look, you can do a big PowerPoint, but read up about the Amazon 6-page memo that Jeff Bezos has implemented at Amazon. It's really about synthesising down sort of your story and writing it in a real narrative and getting the key full logical argument down pretty quickly. It should be able to be read in 15 minutes and really someone could get a good sense of what they're looking at. So you take that to an advisor, and here's some questions to ask them. Okay, you've read my document, it's explained what I'm trying to do. Can you play back the proposition to me? So ask them to explain what they think the concept or proposition is, and that will tell you how clear you've been. Have they seen anything similar already in the market? So you'll get their feedback about whether you've sort of got a good sense of the competitors or whether there's something you're missing. Who do you think this might be useful for? Again, a bit of a sense from your advisors whether it's clear through that you've identified a good customer segment. Any showstoppers you think I need to think about? Now this, I think, is so important. This is about blind spots. You've done all this work, but we're very impassioned about what we're working on, and you might have a blind spot. And a third party is someone that will actually tell you, oh, have you thought about this? And any gaps that you've seen in my plan. So that's just a good bit of feedback that they can give you. Now I will say that feedback is always just feedback. And it's really hard for entrepreneurs and people starting out to take feedback on board because you're really passionate about what you're doing, and also you know so much more about it, and sometimes you go and see someone and you're like, what do they know? They don't know anything. They've got no idea. Don't know why I came here. So I think take it on board, process it, really sort of logically assess it, and some of it you might disregard because you know better than them, but you really should take it on board, particularly about whether you've clearly articulated what you're trying to do, because if you can't articulate it to them, you won't be able to articulate it to a customer. So by now, if you've completed this 10-day process, you're at day 10, you are in a great position to make a considered decision. What are you doing? Where are you going? What will make the customers love us? Do the market conditions favour us? How do we fare against our competitors? And what do we need to believe to make that go decision? So either a go or maybe a bit more work to do. Thank you.